Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here and joining us today. As sheriff, the safety and security of Hillsborough County is paramount. Unfortunately, within our community lie those who seek to exploit another through human trafficking. Hear me now. Individuals who make a conscious choice and effort to take advantage of others have no room here. To those who participate or are responsible for this type of shameful and repulsive activity, you will not get away with it. As a continuation of our effort to keep Hillsborough County safe, we strategically launch operations to catch these criminals and rescue victims trapped in the grasp of human trafficking. During our most recent 20-day operation named Operation Roundup, our undercover detectives arrested 125 men, and we freed 4 women and a 17-year-old from the heinous grasp of human trafficking. Throughout this operation, our detectives created undercover profiles online and chatted with men who believed they were speaking to minors, created false advertisements for sex, and undercover female detectives posed as streetwalkers. Among the men we encountered during Operation Roundup, our detectives arrested Joel Velasco, a Hillsborough County school teacher who offered to pay our undercover detectives $60 in exchange for sex. We also came into contact with Samuel Phillips Jr., a pastor at Bede Limitless Church, when he responded to a false ad placed on an escort website and offered to pay our undercover detective for sex. These men, who were all held to a higher standard of trust and respect, were arrested for soliciting another to commit prostitution. With the strategic use of social media, our detectives were also able to catch those attempting to take advantage of our most vulnerable, our children. Philip Villachetto is a 48-year-old man living in Valrico, Florida. We had the displeasure of meeting him when he engaged in conversation with our undercover detective posing as a minor and solicited sex. His messages, his intentions were clear and crude. Villachetto traveled to meet a 14-year-old girl, but instead was met by our detectives who immediately took him into custody. Once again, using our social media as veil, we apprehended Montasir Shafiq, a 30-year-old man from Lutz. He thought he was communicating with a 14-year-old boy. His text, too vile to fathom. Shafiq was arrested on multiple charges, including 30 counts of transmission of harmful material to a minor. Although this operation inches near Halloween, a time where our kids will take to the streets seeking some safe, wholesome fun, our approach year-round is proactive and relentless. We have a strong team of dedicated detectives who work tirelessly to put a stop to human trafficking. During our hotel operation, we had made more than 1,000 contacts, many that ended when they found out that they needed to travel into this county. Our efforts are working. Those criminals don't want to come to Hillsborough County to solicit sex. Our work doesn't stop here. The goal throughout this operation and others alike is to reduce the demand, rescue those in need, and help guide them to the proper resources and help. This operation helped rescue 4 women and a teenager from the perils of human trafficking, all of whom were connected with Sail of Freedom, an incredible organization that provides support for human trafficking survivors. These 5 women now have access to the resources they need for a safer and brighter future. The only thing wrong with the number of victims is that we know that there are more out there. If you know someone or believe someone is a victim of human trafficking, please say something. You could be saving a life. You can report suspected human trafficking by calling the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. Before I take any questions, Because of the unfortunate success of operations like this over the past several years, I have now created a full-time human trafficking squad to focus on reducing the demand and rescuing victims. To those detectives, as always, the ones who were not able to show and are behind the cameras, thank you. Thank you for your tireless efforts. We are beyond grateful for each and every one of you and what you're doing to keep our community safe. I'm now happy to take any questions.
This full-time squad, how many people does it make up, Sheriff? And are they joining from other places and they come in when they're needed to do that and then back out to where
Great question. This is a full-time squad, and their entire focus will be focused on the complex problem of human trafficking. And what I mean by complex is it comes in many different forms and fashion. So they'll be focusing on streetwalkers by posing undercover. They'll be online focusing and targeting those who are preying on our children. At the same time, with the false advertisements on the hotel operations, those who are from here, those who want to travel to come here to have sex with another individual. So they'll be focusing on those individuals. They'll also be focusing on the education portion of it, and at the same time, the treatment part of it. Those women, those children who find themselves in the peril of human trafficking, being that conduit to help them get the resources that they need.
And did you say how many people were?
I believe it's 12. Yeah.
Did this group already get started, or are they starting soon?
They are. This is their first operation as a squad. We had them come together ever since after the Atlanta Super Bowl, when we saw how gruesome their efforts were there, and we knew we were 2 years away from the Super Bowl here. We immediately started launching these types of operations. The reason I commend them is because it's becoming more difficult. One thing that I'm extremely proud of is, and they always share with me, is if you're in Tampa, it's too hot. I don't want to come to Hillsborough County. I don't want Sheriff Chronister pointing to my picture on this board, which is a good thing. So it's become a little more difficult, but to still see these types of numbers, to still see the number of women that we're rescuing, I knew that we had to have a full-time squad, and we will continue this until we eradicate human trafficking here in Hillsborough County.
Sheriff, I know sometimes people delineate between a prostitute and somebody who's being controlled. Was the 17-year-old or any of these women actually, do you know whether or not they were being controlled by somebody for purposes of human trafficking?
Yeah, we suspect they're all being controlled. I don't think there's too many out there that choose this type of work. Some of them tell us that they are. Our goal is never to re-victimize a prostitute. Our goal is to try to guide them to try to get some resources. But that's the biggest obstacle. I've been saying this for almost 3.5 years now. The biggest challenge we face is individuals, as dysfunctional as the relationships are with the people trafficking them, it's the one individual that they know that they can count on, whether it's to feed the addiction, whether it's the clothing, the shelter, whatever that connection is, as dysfunctional as it is, they know that's the one person they can depend on. So to take this giant leap of faith and say, hey, I realize that I can be something better, I can do something safer, I don't have to be a product of my environment, whatever the cause may be, that's our biggest challenge, and that's why we've been focusing, working with groups like Created, Sail of Freedom, a lot of different non-government entities who do a wonderful job of, once they get in, providing them treatment for addiction, giving them a safe place to stay, providing them clothing, helping them regain that esteem that they need to be successful in life.
The effort that was made before the Super Bowl in WrestleMania, obviously that continues. Today, beyond those big events that people warned us that this would be a magnet for this sort of behavior, was that because what we learned during that shows that there's still just vulnerability all the time, regardless of big events or not?
100%. We know that one thing we've learned is it's not just special events that create that human trafficking. You know, the need to target that need and that demand. It's full time. I think we saw it more robust because we know individuals are traveling to big events like that because of the abundance of the opportunity to feed their perversions, and that's what these predators feed on.
And you mentioned Halloween. Do you guys typically see an increase in human trafficking around the holidays coming up, or do you see any pattern with that?
We haven't yet. It'd be irresponsible for me to say that. I'll be able to answer that in the next couple of months. But no, we've seen an increase during some of our big events, national championship, Super Bowl, WWE, a lot of big events here in Tampa. But one thing that we learned is the numbers are still here. The number of women, the number of children that are being targeted, the numbers are still here. I wish I could sit here and say that that's not the case, but it is the case. So that's why I'm extremely excited to announce that we have a full-time human trafficking squad that will focus on the demand and focus on keeping the youth in this community safer.
Last question?
Sheriff, you mentioned 30 counts of harmful material. What kind of material was that, pornography or?
Pornography, pictures of himself naked, again, repulsive. The 30 pictures that he sent and the conversation that he had, what he felt was with a 14-year-old, telling him the things that he wanted to do with them and teach them. I can't even fathom. It's too repulsive to repeat. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.